Jefferson City, Eldon.
I think he would sound amazing on that stage.
Hey,
what's an act?
Thanks for turning the radio on, car.
That's passed away or.
Anyway, rudely interrupted. Was going to get on the old studio tonight and get very nice audio and get everything set up perfectly for a Riverside StreamYard podcast. And guess what? It just ain't my style and I ain't got time. So here we are on the road with the background noise. Things are rattling. Things are, I don't know, transmissions making noises like it's about to explode out underneath the car. I don't know. This is my studio. The world is my studio, and I can't slow down enough to just sit down and do something right. So here we are. You also have to do things when things are on your mind. So at the end of the day, are you ready to go for a jog? Do you want to go to the gym, or do you want to kind of chill out? You've been working 5 days straight. You clocked out on Friday. Do you want to really do a podcast, or do you force yourself to do it? In the mornings, I'm ready to work out. I'm ready to do the podcast. Let's go. So here we are. What's been on my mind? Co-angler. Are you a co-angler? Yep. Do I go co-angling with other pros? Yep. Is there some time where I wish that I had someone else to fish with because I want to go on the Gasconade and all my kayak buddies are doing kayak things and all my bass fishing buddies are doing bass fishing things, and I know the river's going to be good. I know my jet boat buddies have already got stuff to do. I don't have anybody to go with. Well, there's an answer for that. Co-angler app. On the co-angler app, all you got to do, make a profile. You can be asking for a trip, so you can provide a trip, or you can request a trip. Super easy. It's almost too easy. It's almost, when you get on there, go, wow, why didn't I just call up these people? Well, I already did that. I called up several people that want to go on a float trip. Even try to get on guides' schedules. They're all booked up. Right after the holidays, you wouldn't think, like January, February is a very busy time of year. Yes, it is. Everybody is getting back into school. The weather is hit and miss, but right now it's 43 degrees. We're in central Missouri. It's January the 9th. Whatever day it is, the 8th or 9th. I think it's the 9th. My point is, do a profile on there and then link up with like-minded people that want to go fishing. And you're thinking, well, maybe this is a person I don't know and I'm a little bit scared to get in the boat with them. Well, I see your point there. If you are, you might want to give them a call and fill them out. Also, everybody that's on that app is vetted. They're going to look at profiles and reach out to them, and if they see something, a red flag or something, they're not going to be on the site. So if somebody's on there, they're legit. They just want to go fishing. Yeah, you go on a trip and your personalities clash, blah, blah, blah. That could happen, yeah. It's just like when I do a BFL at Lake of the Ozarks. I'm comfortable with the lake. I might be a co-angler or I might be a boater. I've been on both sides many times. 99.5% you are going to have a great time and have a great day on the water. Hopefully catch some fish and get a check. That's not really what it's about when you're a co-angler, but you're going to have a good time. There's that 0.5% of a day with a person where you're going, ugh, I wish we were fishing a different spot, or this guy is kind of a jerk. He's being a jerk right now. He's behind the dock, and I'm trying to fish this side. He just yelled at me because I cast it over there. That has happened to me. So, can things happen? Yeah, but if you're in a unpressured environment You have agreed to, I just want somebody to help me put the boat in. I want somebody to take pictures with me. I want to put somebody on a crappie bite that I got in a weird spot that, you know, they're not going to be there forever, but here I am out by myself. Just share the day with them. Also, there's a safety factor. I'm getting older. I need a battle buddy sometimes. So we get this out to people down at Fort Leonard Wood. You got soldiers down there. They don't know a whole lot about the area. They might have Google Earthed it. They might have went to the tackle store or whatever, got on bassandbob.com, read everything they could. Still, they might not have ever been on Lake of the Ozarks. They want to go to Army Rec, but they don't know where to go. They don't have the spots to go. They don't really know the best lures to try. They can get on Co-Angler, request a trip, get linked up with somebody local, or get linked up with someone that's very knowledgeable, and go out there and just get a start. Anytime I go anywhere new, I do it here also, but especially when I go somewhere new, I get hooked up with guides and I fill out what's going on in the area. There's just things that you don't know. It's like if you came to my work today and I told you to call a bunch of commercial carriers and get them bid out to pick up an entire Army unit, and I want you to do the whole 9 yards from A to B. I want you to put all the dimensions for the equipment into the system, then get it put out for bid, blah, blah, blah. You don't know how to do that. I don't care who you are. You don't know how to do that from A to B. So there's just stuff that you don't know. So the same thing happens with fishing. You might be the greatest fisherman in the world. I do this all the time. I want to fish with as many people as I can, because no matter who they are, I always learn something different. But there's little nuances of every body of water that you might not think about. You might be on Lake Master on Hummingbird in a brand new bass boat, and you're driving up the Grand Glaze and everything's good because you're in the channel and it shows you're in the channel. But oh, by the way, you think that they put every single log that might have got rushed in for the last flood or the last time we had rain? Oh, by the way, we did have quite a bit of rain yesterday. What that does is it pops things loose. So on the flats, you might be in the middle of the channel in 20 some feet of water, and there might be a log out there that you can hit. Stuff like that. What's the water clarity? What's the water temperatures from PB2 all the way up to the Army Rec? What's the little juice baits that I should be throwing? Should I just throw black and blue and green pumpkin and maybe, oh, I like a white jig. Am I going to stick with those? Or do you want the juice? Do you want that? Oh, well, you might want to try a brown rubber with green tinsel in it. And the tournament guys are going to laugh like, oh, everybody knows that. Not everybody knows that. The green pumpkin, fat-tailed grub works great when you go up the Grand Glaze and then you just put a little chartreuse on the tail of it and you can destroy bass up there. Little things like that. So it just gives you an idea of where to start, and then you can go from there. So shout out to Co-Angler. That's almost 10 minutes of talking about it. Lots more is going to come out from the Co-Angler app. Fishing report type, kind of like trip reports. So you go with somebody, you do a trip report. If you go with me, I want you to tell the truth. Hey, this guy guides on Lake of the Ozarks. I went with him. He's a guide, and he kind of wasn't that great. Put it on there. And you can decide, well, maybe the day was bad, or maybe I need to work on my guide skills, or maybe I need to work on my people skills. I don't know. If it's a great report, put it on there. We went to the Grand Glaze Bridge, community hole, went on piling number 1 on the left-hand side, and caught our limit in 30 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. We had to use hand-tied jigs. They weren't really biting the plastic lures very good that day. Or maybe we had to use crappie nibbles, or maybe we had to use minnows. live scope mattered, live scope didn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And that's how people learn, and that's how we collect data so we can look back later and go off of that. That's one of the reasons I started this podcast / whatever you want to call it, is so I can go back to my dates there's several years now. I deleted a bunch from when I did the social media dump I did where I got mad at it. But on the J-Rod Fishing Podcast, we've got several years now of the same dates, and I can match the conditions, listen to it for 5 minutes and go, oh, that's what was happening back then. Going into that segue right now, if you wanted to match what was going on January 9th, 2026, you might want to go back to December 9th of 21 and 22 and 23, I believe, got pretty cold. So 21, 22, even 2020. Go back that far. One, the lake goes in cycles, 4 to 5 year cycles, seems like. 2, we've had an unusually warm fall. We've only had snow a few times. Right now, we haven't had a lot of nights below freezing. So the water temps are still in that mid-40 range for the most part. There's some parts way up the rivers that's cooled off pretty good. They're in the mid-40s, and then you've still got that 46, 47, a lot of the areas. So, kind of match the water temperature to your conditions for the years past. What's happened is we get crappie and bass that are really kind of into their wintering zones, but we have a lot that are hanging out, staying in that 8 to 15 foot range in brush and in docks. So they're not going to move if the bait's still there, and they're not going to move if they're comfortable. So those real deep haunts, there are some deep brush and deep bluffy type banks where they're holding fish. So you have fish that are remaining in their late fall pattern and fish that are in the winter pattern and are most likely going to stay there for the rest of the winter, but you have both, so they're a little bit scattered out. So what's happening is those fish that have not really transitioned are getting finicky for me in these hot days. We've had 2 days that are over 60 degrees in the afternoon. It's heating the dock floats up, and I am catching crappie right under the dock float so you can shoot the docks. And then we've been doing a lot of dock fishing, just walking around on the docks, and they've been there for months, so they're getting finicky. They're getting a lot of pressure, so I've had to go to an MML Lures, get those on Facebook, MML Lures hand-tied crappie jigs. He gets colors specifically customized for really good fishermen in the region. So guys that go to Norfolk, guys that go to Bull, Table Rock, Palmy, Lake of the Ozarks. These guys are asking for certain colors, and then he's tailored his more popular colors around there. Pinkie Pie is working. The Crystal Crappie Slayer has been my favorite lately, and then the Puffy Special. Those three have been really, really good. I like the Pinkie Pie in dirtier water. The Grand Glaze, for some reason right now, well, there's a reason. It's super clear. The water clarity is as clear as I wouldn't say as I've ever seen it. It seems these years that we're having with no rain and no runoff, it's been clear all the way up it. We're going to get a big rain here soon, and it'll muddy things up and change things. It'll make it a little bit tougher until they get used to it, and then you can still catch them in the dirtier water. But we're not there yet. It's super clear all the way from, you might go into a pocket like Pin Oak was a little stained, but, from the main lake, from, PB2 to Army Rec, it's been pretty clear. I haven't been all the way up the clays to look at it, but you can still jerkbait them. It's that clear. You can jerkbait pretty much anywhere you want on the lake right now. That's why so many people are going up the river fishing still. It's clear up well past the 50-mile marker. Now it gets stained and more stained as you go, but you can still throw a jerkbait from, probably Proctor all the way down into the Nianguas. And then you can certainly throw it from there down. So you got 50 miles of jerkbait and A-rig territory. So the lake's wide open. The lake is warmer than normal. For the bass, it's pretty good. So you've got these water temps in the mid to upper 40s. You can still throw crankbait if you want. So you don't have to just throw the jerkbait and the A-rig. Now, I would definitely, if I'm going for bass right now, be throwing a jerkbait and an A-rig and a minnow. That leads us into the next topic, trends. It's crazy to me that this trend of shaking the minnow has made it to the point where it is now with popularity. The reason I say that is because for years and years and years, we went to Table Rock throughout the winter. And back in the day when they got real deep, we threw a spoon, we threw a grub, and we threw a minnow. And a lot of times, you might throw a gray Roadrunner or a bucktail jig. So, just like with the crappies with the hand ties, you take the jigs that you bought over at Bull or Norfolk. For some reason, they got a little bit scarce around Table Rock. So when you would go to Table Rock Bait Company or the old Chompers Factory, all those little tackle shops did not have the bucktails and the hand ties that I could find when I went to Mountain Home or anywhere, Cranfield Junction down at Norfolk. It just seems like they were more popular. I think it's just because of the stripers, you had more bucktail jigs. But anyway, you were dropping on them anywhere from 60 to 100 feet of water, and you're fishing the treetops that are sticking up to 30. Every once in a while, you could throw a deep rebel rogue, not a rebel rogue, a deep build rebel or a spoon build rogue, and you could get it down there. You could weight it. You could long line them. You could do all types of different techniques to get it deep. But day in and day out, when they got real deep, starting in December, underneath bait balls, we dropped on them with a minnow. And I don't know how many fish, they might get used to the spoon or whatever. There was some guys throwing gitsits on them, dropping on them. So that's just another version of the minnow. Did you have to shake it? Yeah, we shook it. We did anything to get a bite. If they wanted something steady, a steady retrieve on it, we threw a grub. So this shaking a minnow is not a new thing. And all that failed, you could take a Zoom Super Fluke Junior or the tiny Super Fluke and put it on a number 2 with a 1/8 ounce no collar crappie jig, something that you would use to hand tie. And you would take that and take a Zoom Super Fluke Junior, and then when it fell, it twirled and it would twist your line all to hell, and it was kind of hard to manage after a while. But that got bit. How did we know where the drops were? We were using paper maps. How did we know where the bait balls were? We're using flashers. And any type of gray sonar back then, when the Lowrance, the X15 came out, it was gray. You could see everything. You could see the fish underneath. Now it's not live, but you knew what depth they were in. That was the main thing. Is, are they in 25? Are they in 35? All right, found them. They're in 35. Some are on the bottom, some are suspended. You got their range, and then you got out there. Now, when you dialed it all in, the trees, the drop, the shad, the schools of Kentucky's, you were on them. So this shaking the minnow thing is not a new deal. Belton Lake, Texas. I've told the story many times. I back my boat into the water. My wife's in the boat. I'm backing her into the water. She doesn't ever crank up the big motor. She is floating in the middle of Belton Lake. This is at Temple Lake Park, by the way, for you Texas boys. Temple Lake Park on the right side. Hardly ever get to put it on the left side. Anyway, so she's in the main river channel. She has got a bright chartreuse spinnerbait on. This water is crystal clear down there. For Central Texas, one of the clearest lakes. It's in that Central Texas region with Lake Travis, Belton. You can throw Stillhouse in there, but that region where the water is extremely clear. So, it's like a mini little Stockton Lake. It also has smallmouth in it, so it's, if you're Missouri guys, it's very similar to Stockton. Anyway, she's in the middle of the lake. She has not put the trolling motor down. She has not cranked up the big motor. She's probably sitting in 60 to 70 foot of water, maybe. Throwing a bright chartreuse spinnerbait. She just learned how to cast a bait caster. She's launching it out there. She's letting it go down, and she's just kind of reeling it in, kind of slow. I am at the parking lot, putting it in park. I'm getting out of the truck, and I hear, Jared, like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's fell in. Oh my God, what's going on? And I go out there, and she has got a 4-pound smallmouth just jumping and going crazy next to the boat. What do I do? Do I need to get the net? She's screaming. Like, just lift it up. Just lift it up and put it in the boat. Well, she gets it in the boat. She's got said, put it in the live well. She does that. So she's waiting. I'm getting down there. She starts throwing again. And I'm going, put the trolling motor down and come over here and get me. She keeps throwing. Boom, catches another one. And it's a largemouth. So she's in the middle of the lake throwing a spinnerbait. Just so happens there was some shad coming around. So my point is, this middle of the lake fishing and balls of shad, sometimes it's not even balls of shad, they're just out there. Those fish have been out there forever. And live scope and shaking the minnow is a trend where we are dialing in that pattern. And when I say dial it in, we are dialing it in. It is deadly. A lot of people say that shaking the minnow doesn't work on Lake of the Ozarks. It absolutely works. It just has its own spin to it. So those fish have been out there forever. If you've ever hung out at a creek, another quick story, my grandpa and myself would go to Ruby-Doo Creek all the time. So the Ruby-Doo runs into the Big Piney, I believe, or the Gasconade, somewhere over there. Anyway, super clear creek, and you can see the bass in certain parts of it. And there's a place on Ruby-Doo that we used to hang out, and you would see these bass just suspended over deep water. Maybe there's a tree nearby, maybe on a shade line, but you could see them. So when they were not hunting and not feeding, they were just hanging out. They're just out there, not doing a thing, just laying there. And you could throw to them. You could get up on the bridge. You could throw to them. You could sneak up on the bank. If you tried to get close to them with the boat, you're probably going to spook them. And they would just kind of disappear. I don't know if they laid on the bottom. I don't know if they just made a circle and got behind us. But you would pretty much spook them. They're very easy to spook in this mode. So I don't know, knowing what we know now, if I'd have thrown a jerkbait or a minnow on them, if they wouldn't have got spooked. But the point is they would suspend out there just like these floaters are doing in our lakes. And some people have figured out how to not spook them and catch them, which is great. But what happened in that creek would be they would suspend out there, and then like a light switch, I don't know if it was a pressure change, I don't know if the wind started blowing a little bit, something would trigger them to go feed. And they would get up in the shallows. Nothing was safe at that point. They would feed on the flats. They would feed everywhere. And contours really didn't matter. So if they wanted to feed behind a shoal, they would be up in there trying to get crawdads. If a school of minnows went by, when it was feeding time, nothing was safe. So we would catch them on a jointed tail Rapala, any type of rogue was good. We didn't do a lot of topwater back then, but you know, the jerk baits and a small gets it was great. Small jigs were good, and grubs. I would say a grub and a jerk bait or a jointed Rapala was probably our best baits on that creek. So my point is, fish do that. That's the behavior of the fish. They'll do that. They're not up there feeding all the time. Now, a lot of times when they're in that kind of mood on Lake of the Ozarks, they're in a pile or suspended off a pile or suspended out from a dock, and everybody's going, oh, they're out here in the middle just floating. Well, they are, but they're kind of related to something. Now, one thing that is trendy is, oh, contour lines don't matter anymore. It don't matter. They'll be over here, they'll be over there. I have seen some truth to that, but I still feel like in a progression of the year and them moving from spawn to summer, from summer to fall, that they do migrate, and I think contour lines mean a lot. Like right now, I've been talking about fish in 8 to 15 foot of water, crappie and bass, but they are related to channel swings and rock transitions, to where different kind of contours kind of dictate what kind of rock you have, if you know what I mean. Now, that doesn't mean there's not huge big boulders up in 2 foot of water, but on Lake of the Ozarks, a lot of times our big rock and transition from there to basketball size, to baseball size, to pea gravel, a lot of times is in a contour change from bluff to 45 to then flatter type banks. That is not always 100% true everywhere. I've seen pea gravel burst out from a big flat straight off a bluff. So it's kind of weird, but normally the contour lines do make a difference with the rock transitions and then how they migrate. Now, that doesn't mean that they're solid on those contours right on the bluff or right on the 45, to where say you want 10 foot spaces on a gradual slope from 5 out to 30. There are degree banks that you kind of need to pay attention to. So that's where you can kind of dial in a pattern. So the trend is contour lines don't make any difference anymore. I think they totally will always make a difference, but pay attention to what it is when you start getting bit. 1, there's a clue. 2, that's a better clue. 3, you better really start paying attention and hope it's not random. If it's random, it's random. But if you, for instance, you're following your contours and you see that close to a channel swing where it starts to flatten out in 15, I got bit on the jerkbait. Oh, by the way, there was some brush there, so I wasn't on the steep part and I wasn't on the totally flat part. I was on the in between, and there was a brush pile in 12 foot, and I duplicate that in the pocket across, and I get another bite, And then I go do that in the back, and I'm in 15 foot. And oh, by the way, there was a channel swing that hit that secondary point. But down here, 50 yards from that, oh, here's another pile in 8 foot. That's when you start to dial it in. Then you dial in your color. Then you dial in your depth and your line size and blah, 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 blah. That's when you get dialed. Then you see them on live scope now, and you see how they react, and then you have the presentation down. So all that goes together. I think contours not meaning anything is trendy, and I don't buy it. So shaking a minnow's not new. Maps aren't new. Using your graph isn't new. We're just getting better and better and better at looking at those things. Technology is getting crazy. I'm not against forward-facing sonar, but man, I'll just say truth is truth. If you don't have a 16-inch Garmin in the front, you're behind the power curve. That's the plain as day. Yeah, you can go out and catch them without it. You can John Cox it. You can go up Gravois, run up Indian, way up the Gravois, and peck away and get you a limit. But right now, you're not going to catch as many as the guys out scoping with a 16-inch Garmin. That's just facts. That's just the way it is. Yeah, will John Cox go to Rayburn and get lucky and catch them on a fritz side on the edge of the grass up at the bridge in the community hole and then milk out enough to win? Yeah, you can do that. Yes. But the majority of the wins right now, if you don't have a 16-inch Garmin up front, the reason I didn't say Lowrance or Humminbird is they ain't there yet. They're good and they work. That Live 2 is good on Lowrance. Humminbird Live is good. You can smoke them. But you get in the boat with somebody with a 16-inch dialed-in Garmin, guys, it is unreal. Can you catch them? No. It's not guaranteed that you can catch them. No. But these guys that know how to catch them, and they got it, they're picking out the difference between a 4-pounder and a 5-pounder. They're picking out the difference between a 17-pound sack and a 20-pound sack, and they're taking your money home. That's facts. So, trends, we're dialing it in. Co-Angler app, get on it. MML Lures, get some. Let's go fishing. That's all I have for today. Thank you for listening to me during this crazy, wild podcast. I've got a MoBass meeting tomorrow. If you're interested in fishing the Missouri Bassmaster Nation Club, or maybe just state, or maybe the regionals, there's a direct way to the regionals now. Give me an email, call me, whatever. I'm on Instagram, J-Rod Shelton. I'm on Instagram, LOZ Guide Service. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm easy to find. If you're interested in any Missouri Bassmaster Nation tournaments, I can tell you all about it. I was looking today, I didn't know that the Slaunch Donkey Club was as old as it is. We're on our 6th year. Where'd the time go? I don't know. We've won an average one year on state, thanks to Brian Maloney winning down at Table Rock. We've, I think, had somebody in contention for the state team pretty much every year. Next year, we've got a couple people going to nationals. We've got some guys going to the regional on Toledo Bend. That's in April. So there's other avenues to get to these central divisionals. You don't have to be in a club. You can join with the nation and go down there. And you can join with a club and you have a better chance of going to nationals directly. So if you're interested in anything like that, or getting into some clubs that have a lot of tournaments on their own, there's several organizations at the lake that do that. Whatever region you're in, there's clubs that are having tournaments. So that's easy to get started. The Missouri TBF is still going strong. So that's another avenue that kind of leans towards the Major League Fishing side. TBF is an organization by themselves, but you can go through the All-American from the TBF. A lot of people have got their start from the TBF. A lot of people have gotten their start from the Nation side. Look at Brandon Polinick and Pat Slapper that recently fishing the elites now through the Nation. So if you're interested in that, give me a shout out. If you just want to go have a good time, no pressure, no tournament, go catch some crappie, call me up. We can do a guide trip, or get on the Co-Angler app, sign up, request a trip, or look for trips that are in your area. And they're going to have a notification thing where if a trip pops up in your area, you're going to get a notification. Hey, Mark Twain Lake crappie trip popped up in your region. So check all that out, guys. Thanks for listening. I'm long-winded today. I'm excited. It's good weather and we're going fishing. Get the grease hot.